Welcome back, family, to another episode of Spiritually Speaking, where everything is really that deep. Today, I wanted to come on and continue the merriment in our relationship playbook. So, let's recap, shall we? So, when it comes to relationships, we've already discussed a number of things. One, driving the relationship and the value of having true partnership within your relationships, and also the importance of having direction. We've discussed love languages, we've discussed keeping score in the relationship, and also how to be a proper team player, knowing your position in your relationship and playing your position to the best of your ability to benefit not only yourself but the team as a whole. Obviously, we're talking about relationships when I mention the team, right? And since we're already talking about being a team player, let's discuss playing the game overall. So, one thing we can all agree on is the dating game is a sport within itself, right? Trying to figure out the logistics of what you want versus what other people want and how you can make that fit into your life, right? So, the question is, how are you playing the game? Do you understand all the rules? And what is your end game overall? Are you looking for marriage or are you looking for something more casual? Knowing your actual end game and honestly communicating that with the people you come into a relationship with alleviates a lot of hassle in the relationship dynamic. So it's important to be clear on what you want and where you want things to go right up front so everyone is clear on the expectations within the dynamics. Having that direction makes those day to day play by plays go a lot smoother, trust me. And it's important that we don't focus on what other people will want us to do or timelines or expectations that are outside of what we truly want for ourselves, that are not in alignment with where we see ourselves going within relationships. It's important for you to understand what you want in the situation, where you want things to go. Also, having that internal direction is important, right? We've discussed this before. Knowing where you want to go as an individual and knowing where you want to go as an individual helps you pick the best team player to help you get to that destination faster, right? You know what they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So a lot of times we have to understand that our partner plays a significant role in the distance that we're meant to go. So you definitely have to choose wisely, but we understand all that by now. So let's get into how we play the game within relationships. Oftentimes, just like a sport, we allow our relationships to become competitive. So, whether you're competing with your partner in the relationship or other people, other couples, other relationships, other mindsets and ideals that you see out in the world, sometimes that competitive side can be a deterrent on our actual goals, on where we're trying to go. For instance, if you're always in competition with your partner, how are you guys really going to get ahead? If the end goal is here and you are bickering back here, you are holding each other back from moving forward. Oftentimes, we allow our relationships to become a competition rather than true companionship. We're out here competing with our partners when we're meant to understand that we should be a team. It should always be you and your partner versus everybody else. You got to think of it like this is football, basketball, whatever your favorite sport is. Gentlemen, okay, I'm gonna need y'all to study these relationships and study your partner like you know your favorite team and the stats of your favorite player, okay? Let's pretend like this is a team effort. So are you actually trying to get your team to the championships? Do you actually want that championship ring at the end of the day? Those are the questions you need to ask yourself. And if so, are you capable of doing the work that it takes to get you and your partner there? As we know, relationships are no easy feat. It's a sport within its own. So, how do we get ourselves to the places that we want to go as a team? It requires a lot of practice, right? So, what you should have been doing is taking notes on your previous relationships, how those panned out for you, and your different dating styles, attachment styles, all those different things come into play. So, have you studied your own playbook before you even try to introduce yours to the team as well? Little do you know, your past relationships are actually practices that you can learn from. But we have to actually take the time out to study ourselves. Study your own playbook to see what those past plays got you before. Especially if your team didn't make it to the championships to get that ring. Like we discussed before, evaluate how you operate within the team. What are your strengths, weaknesses, and abilities? So, what are your individual stats? What are your strengths and abilities? Where are you strong at, and where do you need work at? Do this before you enter relationships so you don't feel the need to compete with your partner. After all, you want to be the best overall player. So let's get ready for this upcoming cuffing season, shall we? So, first things first, your partner is your teammate, not your direct competition. There's too many things out in this world that you have to go against and compete against in everyday life. You shouldn't be having those different dynamics within the relationship. It should be you and your partner versus everybody else. It should be you and your partner versus any situation at any given time. And you definitely don't want to get into a space where you're competing with other couples because then you're not remaining true to yourself, your core values, morals, what you want, your goals, etc., right? Because now you're trying to meet the goals of someone else. So instead of focusing on what the goal is for your relationship, now you're out here competing and trying to meet other people's goals and expectations for their relationships when that's not even what you want at the end of the day. So as I discussed in the last video, worrying about who's going 50-50, 80-20, 90-10, whatever the case may have you, focus on what you want and desire for your relationship. Focus on what works for your different relationship dynamics. What works for one couple does not work for everyone, and you're not meant to put those different expectations on your relationship. Those are the things that set us back before we can even get a good start. Placing those unrealistic, uncommunicated expectations on the person or relationship when that's not something that you even align with yourself. And what we're seeing more of are these social media relationships where it's performative based, right? You're doing everything for likes, views, clicks, comments, and subscribes, and not really being your authentic selves. What you don't want to do is have your relationship feel like it's performance based. And you definitely don't want your partner to feel like you're putting on some type of show or facade, or that your love is conditional and based on how well they perform for the outside world. It's so much more important to actually have a good relationship versus having the relationship that looks good from the outside looking in, when in all actuality, it isn't what it appears to be online. Let's be real, many of these relationships are not what they supposed to be. A lot of people are out here performing for you guys, and you really have these people as your relationship goals, and you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. And when we see what's actually going on behind the scenes, you can clearly see that this is definitely not a relationship goal you should aspire to. So let's focus on actually having authentic connections versus having it appear to be that online or to others. So many people are trying to appear to be the couple goals to be that power couple, to have those different dynamics, and they don't put in the work to actually become that couple. So, yes, everyone should have that relationship goal to be this power couple, this dynamic duo. That is a great goal to have. But let's actually put in the work to do that. The next thing we see so often with relationships is the barometer being how well financially you're doing. So many people feel like a successful relationship is based on monetary value. How much money are you guys making? So when I say power couple, automatically many of us assume houses, cars, land, and that stuff, don't get me wrong, that stuff is definitely things you want to aspire to, right? Because you want to have the things to make you comfortable within the relationship. So if you aspire to a luxury lifestyle, there's nothing wrong with that, but that can't be the only thing that we're aspiring to in the relationship, okay? How are these relationships making you feel at the end of the day? Do you have a partner that you can depend on, that's reliable, that's supportive, that's loyal, that you can communicate with, that you can resolve issues with? That's one of the things we see so much in relationships, is that some of those core values, the morals, and the deeper things that we should be focusing on are kind of left on the sideline, right, for somebody else to worry about, because you want to put on a performance and appear to be the best team with the best uniforms, with the best plays, and you're not putting in that work behind the scenes with each other to actually build a team that's cohesive and that works together and that wins seamlessly at the different things, challenges that life may throw at you. Listen, it's nice to be driving his or hers Benz and everything like that, but can you guys communicate at the end of the day? It's very nice to show up as the best dressed couple at the party or event. However, are you guys the couple that argues at the event or when you get home over minor issues? Do you have trust within a relationship? These are the bigger things that matter. So it's high time we stop playing the game and actually get our heads in the game. Another thing we see so often in relationships is people still playing single people games when they're in a relationship. Again, we'll see people in long term committed relationships or marriages, and again, they don't communicate well, they lack respect for each other, they lack loyalty, they're secretive, they're divisive in their ways of thinking and being by focusing on instant gratification for self versus what actually works for the partnership. There are so many people in long term relationships who aren't even comfortable enough to be vulnerable with their partner. And if you're not vulnerable with your partner, then who exactly are you vulnerable with? And if you're not vulnerable with your partner, what exactly is the point of it all? Too many people are out here playing games, and it's not a game, especially when you have someone else's life, emotions, and essentially their future tied up in what you're doing. We have to take more seriously that what you do seriously affects the person you are in relation with, right? So your different beliefs, mindsets, actions, behaviors, you have to literally consider that person almost 100% of the time, right? Obviously, you won't be perfect. There are some things you will get wrong, but that's part of the practice that you guys are supposed to be doing. And you're actually supposed to be learning from the different things that you guys go through. So, those different challenges that you guys face, you're supposed to be learning how to communicate better, learning how to be more vulnerable with each other, learning how to be more trustworthy, how to be more loyal, how to be more respectful, how to better align with this person that you may see life with. So think about that for a second. When you're in these different situations, a good way to tell if this is something you should or shouldn't be doing, or you need to consider your partner more, is if they do it, how would you feel? And I feel like this is something that's so self explanatory, but we get it messed up all the time. And it's such a simple thing to incorporate within your situations to help it kind of flow a little better, right? So if you desire a certain level of respect, give that certain level of respect to your partner. And if you cannot do that, perhaps you don't need to be in a relationship until you figure out how to give what you want to receive. Again, if you're expecting perfection, I hope you're perfect yourself. People often want a partner who anticipates their needs, that kind of goes above and beyond, but they aren't willing to do the very things that they demand from this person. And how fair is that? And you have to have a certain level of reciprocity in any dynamic, specifically with someone you're very intimate with. It's a very delicate balance of give and take. Sometimes you'll be the giver, sometimes you'll be the receiver, sometimes you'll be the quarterback, sometimes you might be the receiver. It just depends on what is needed in certain situations. Sometimes you have to figure out who's the best person to lead the play, okay? So, who has the better strength in certain areas? It's not always the man is going to be able to take the lead. Sometimes a woman and her intuition will have to take the lead on certain matters, and sometimes a man will have to take the lead on certain matters, right? You have to know how to submit to each other. It's not just submission from the woman's standpoint. True love requires submission from both. So you have to check those egos at the door. You can't get all in your ego and in your feelings when the woman may know something more about a subject or topic than you do, okay? That is not demeaning to your leadership as a man, nor your intelligence, nor integrity, none of those things, right? But so often we allow those things to make us feel attacked or belittled when really you should want that out of a partner. You definitely don't want someone who's not beneficial to the team at all, right? You want a woman who's intelligent, who can take charge, who can take leadership when it may call for it, right? There may be times in the relationship where you, as a man, are unable to do certain things, and that woman will have to get out there and pick up the slack where you may have left off for whatever reason. It could be health issues, there could be a multitude of things that go on with children and family and different things like that. And your different experience levels are coming into play at that point. And ladies, that goes for us too. We can't get all in our feelings when men want to lead. You have to understand that that is a man's genuine nature to want to lead, to provide and protect, right? So if you're saying you want a man who is a strong leader to provide and protect, you have to allow that man to actually lead, provide, and protect. However, he should be allowing your input. Too often, we find in relationships that male leadership kind of looks like domination, and it shouldn't, right? You should never want full dominion and control over someone. So, yes. You should be able to have those conversations, hear your spouse's input, so you guys can come up with the best play possible. As always, two heads are better than one, so you definitely want to have that open communication to where you guys can figure out what is the best plan moving forward with any given situation. And of course, there will be times where we fall short, where we neglect to consult our partner, where we default to things that we would have done in an individual standpoint when we were single, right? We all default back to different coping mechanisms, different ways of being. A lot of us are stuck in our ways, especially when you get up there in age. So you have to come to understand who you are, how you operate, what are your behaviors, what are some of the specific things that you do. How do you handle conflict? You really have to know yourself before getting into relationships if you want it to be healthy, if you want it to go to the distance. That's why it's important to have individual goals and relationship goals so you know exactly where you're trying to go. Again, be clear. If you're only trying to score, just say that. If you're trying to get to the championship rings, say that as well. Be clear with your intentions. We have to be more intentional about our relationships, specifically as Black people, right? More times than not, there are no actual goals. Many times it's more about playing a game than actually getting somewhere. We're not building solid foundations for our relationships nor our children. We're not aspiring to marriage. We're steady playing games with one another. We're not building a legacy. Oftentimes, we're not even looking to actually make it work. We're just jumping in and out of relationships, kind of playing a role, being performative, not actually putting in the work in ourselves or with our partner to make it something that is actually long lasting, to have those goals, to create legacy for our children, to create strong bonds and partnerships, to create a relationship that our children can look up to and aspire to. We are not looking to do any of that most of the time, and it's so unfortunate. We remain in these toxic cycles and do a bunch of nothing, right? We have a bunch of clothes, we go out clubbing, and that's it. We have a good time and we look good doing it, right? How many of us are actually putting in the groundwork for self and our partnerships to actually grow it to something that our children and other people should aspire to? Now, of course, that's not only true for Black relationships, right? So don't get your panties all in a bunch, unclench those pearls, and relax, okay? You know what I'm trying to say. We have a problem with actually having long term goals within a relationship. We're supposed to be moving the bar up and setting the standard for the next generation. That's what our focus should be. But instead of focusing on building long lasting, healthy relationships, many of us are too often focusing on outside environments, people, places, and things that do not even matter to us at the end of the day. When you really think about it, all that time, energy that you're investing in other people's relationships, social media, celebrities, gossip, all these other things that are not beneficial. Most of it's low vibrational and toxic. Really evaluate, how is that helping you at the end of the day? How is that helping you in your relationship? How is that helping you build healthy relationships with your children? How is that helping you build legacy? Where is that getting you at the end of the day? Too many of us are focused on a bunch of nothing. Focus on distraction. It's all a distraction. If it's not helping you, then it's hurting you. And what too many of us fail to recognize is you're subconsciously focusing on those distractions to avoid the work your soul is calling you to do. You should always be aspiring to be your best self, whether in a relationship or not. And definitely when you're in a relationship, the goal should be to get that relationship to its highest level it could possibly go. So why are we wasting all this time playing these games? It's really not a game out here. People are out here losing their lives day after day, playing with people's loyalty and trust. You cannot be out here playing with people's feelings. If you're going to be in a relationship, be in a relationship. If you want to play the sidelines and play with the cheerleaders and who's in the bleacher, do that, but be single. Have integrity and be intentional about the things that you want to do in your life, the things that you want to have in your life, specifically people. You cannot be out here playing games with people. It is a very dangerous sport, as we see on the news, on social media, in our regular lives. It is not a game. Life is meant to be taken seriously. Relationships are meant to be taken seriously. Again, look at your relationships like ships. They're intended to take you somewhere, right? At the end of the day, our team is supposed to be getting to the championships, and you cannot do that focusing on your wants, your needs individually, and not focusing on being a team player and what is most beneficial for your team as a whole, children included. There's no I in team for a reason. So if you intend on getting to the championship, getting that ring, make sure you are choosing the best all around player that you could do the journey of life with. Make sure you have direction in where you want yourself to go and your relationship. And most of all, do it with integrity, but do it with intention. And don't just be jumping in relationships for sport, okay? So that's where I'll end it. Let me know what you guys think. As always, definitely a discussion we can expound upon further and further and further. I can talk about this stuff all day. So until we talk again, as I always say, please continue to come and go in love and light. Pursue your purpose, not just paychecks, because purpose provides your provision. And last but certainly not least, you definitely want to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And until next time, peace, y'all.